a hotel to understand its own positioning in relation to its pricing that it's offering. So that's a little bit about market intelligence. So like I said, when we talk about market intelligence, every hotel should undertake both an external and an internal analysis on an annual basis. Now, an external analysis provides hoteliers with a view of what is happening within that particular marketplace. Now, this would include things like demand, so consumer trends, supply, and by understanding the behaviors of both the consumers and the competitors, a hotel can better position themselves to be prepared to meet the need of or overcome the challenges specific to your market. Now, an internal analysis provides hoteliers with an understanding of what is happening within your own hotel and can influence your position within that market. It means taking a closer, realistic look at what is happening within the hotel, such as understanding your service standards, the quality of your product, your offering, how much of it has changed, how much of it has not changed. So a multiple variety of influences there for hotels to be able to understand. And let's have a look at some of them now, I guess. So if we have a look at external analysis, some things that we need to look at when we're doing an external analysis or when you're doing an external analysis within your market. So first of all, new products. You should always be asking yourself the question, are there new products that are coming into the market since I last did an analysis that I should consider as my competition? Okay. And then renovations. So when was each competitor most recently renovated? And then we have a look at construction. So is there any constructions that are happening nearby that could potentially be my competitors? And then we have any switched flags. So this is always a big one, actually, because sometimes you get independent properties which are, operating on their own, and then you get some management company which comes in, takes over the hotel, gives them a branding flag, and it's a whole different level of strategies that are being implemented, and therefore could potentially be a direct competitor. Now, technology is always a big one. So, I guess you've got to ask the question, when you're looking at it from a revenue management point of view, any of my competitors implemented revenue management systems, or have they changed their distribution partners since you did the last analysis? Obviously, this can help to be able to achieve a lot more than what they are going to be achieving historically. Reviews. This is obviously a really big one, because reviews is really what makes or breaks a hotel. So what are the reviews for your competitors? What are the reviews that they're receiving on social media sites? Which social media sites are really pushing their reviews? Whether it's an OTA, which OTA is the largest one there, and which one do they have a lot of reviews on? So it's something to have a look at. And then, are there any significant citywide events that are driving demand? And if so, what is the volume of this demand, and what dates may be impacted? So it's always a good one to have a look at. And then, how is the booking process on the competitor sites? I get a lot of this question, how can we really focus on making sure our bookings are coming in when they should be coming in? And, what can we do to take fair share of market from our competitors? But actually, a lot of hotels out there don't actually even check their own booking process, let alone the competitors' booking process. So, go ahead and have a look to see how easy or difficult it is, because, that does make a big impact on whether you are going to get that booking or whether your competitors are going to get that booking. And what are the market's booking policies, including cancellation periods, for example? So market booking policies. How much business is coming in on an advanced purchase? How much business is coming in on a fully flexible? These are all factors that you should be considering when you're having a look at your external influences. So on the flip side of that, internal, asking yourself the question, so when was the hotel most recently renovated? So your hotel, when was it most recently renovated? And are you talking about it? Also, is the product in need of refurbishment? And if so, then what areas? Which areas are your customers really talking about? What are they actually saying to you? Is the lobby in need of more tender love and care, or is it some of the bedrooms? So these are the questions that you should be asking when you're doing internal analysis. The service, is your service in need of improvement? If so, is it breakfast, lunch, or dinner? What area is it? are there any significant closures? So by significant closures, we mean, do you have any pools that might be closed down, which are going to have an impact on your customers? These are questions to ask. Are there any constructions that are happening nearby which could potentially have an impact on your hotel? And do you have adequate, for example, meeting space to attract the right group business? Some hotels have large conference facilities, and some hotels attract a large volume of group business, and they can only really focus on attracting more is if they have adequate meeting space, for example. And the $1 million question is, do we have enough sleeping rooms? What are the layouts of our sleeping rooms? Are we selling more of our double rooms? Are we selling more of our twin rooms? Do we have lack of a certain room type? These are questions that should be asked, and whether your competitors have that room type that you need. And then obviously when it comes to an annual analysis going forward, you can put this forward to the management board to see whether any changes can be made to allow hotels to really drive the business according to the demand that they have in the market. Wonderful. So let's move on. So again, market intelligence, after you've completed your analysis, you need to have a look at your market trends. So when you have completed the external and internal influencers, the person who's responsible for the whole revenue management side of things needs to really have a look at consumer behavior, booking trends, competitive trends, pricing trends, segmentation trends, distribution trends. All these different trends you need to have a look at within your market. And not only having a look at them at one particular time, but actually having a look at them throughout different periods of the year to see how things are changing and how that is actually impacting you. So you don't just do the external internal analysis and just leave it there. You have to convert it into identifying the trends that are within that analysis. And then once you've done that, really have a look at the demand indicators. So once you've identified the market trends, you look at the demand indicators and then take a look at okay, what behavior or what events do I have going on within my market, which are going to have a direct impact on me. Now, they can be both positive and negative, and especially on the demand in the marketplace, understanding really what factors are taking effect for hotels who are potentially losing out on fair share of business. How are you working to building your consumer confidence? Because consumer confidence obviously has a great impact on the whole revenue management success or failure of a hotel. And then once the demand indicators have been identified, it's about competition. Now, it's about identifying the appropriate competitive set to apply to your hotel. And, for some hotels, it's easier to do than others. But really, it's about understanding what competitor set you have based on the different levels of business mix that you have. So we're going to touch on this a little bit later, but it's one of the next steps that you would have a look at after you've done your market intelligence. Now, last point on here is impact on revenue management. So there's some key takeaways that have a direct impact on revenue management. And I just wanted to mention them quickly to you today, so that when you are doing your analysis, you are fully aware of how these factors are having an impact. So the first one is price and quality. So consumers do not use price as an indication of quality if ratings and reviews are available. It's obviously good news for revenue managers because it means that they can adjust price, of course, within reasonable bounds to generate short-term demand without affecting long-term quality perceptions. Now, really having a focus on price and quality when you're doing your market intelligence allows you to understand what your positioning is. And that obviously supported with the reviews and the ratings, it's a no-brainer then for a hotel to be able to grow their own business quite successfully. Next one is UGC. UGC is simply user-generated content, so reviews, for example. As I've said before, price alone is not a winning strategy. Consumers look at your UGC, so your user-generated content, and especially of that of your competitors when they're making a purchasing decision. So you can't just simply adjust your price based on the price movement of your competitors. You must understand how your reputation compares to understand consumers value perceptions of your hotel versus your competition. Again, it comes within market intelligence. And then reviews. We know how powerful reviews are. Reviews are more important to consumers than ratings. Now, consumers look to review over aggregated ratings to form quality and value perception. So they really take a look at this within a market and see, okay, what's actually happening from our point of view to our competitor point of view. And then, of course, reputation and price. How is your reputation? How are your competitors' reputation in conjunction to the prices that you're that are being offered within that particular market? If you are clearly better than your, you're not. It's that simple. I don't have to elaborate on that. But of course, reviews help with that within a marketplace. Now, poor reputation, it is hard to overcome bad UGC, for example, bad reviews, bad reputation. But, a lot of hotels in certain marketplaces just tend to just lower their prices if they're being badly rated. Now, this does have a negative impact, and I would never recommend a hotel to do this, because once you lower your prices within that market, then you're really restricted to what you can actually offer when you look at getting a better service. So focus on service, focus on making your service and your offering better, rather than just sticking down to lowering your price. So next thing I'm going to quickly talk about is the competitor set selection. Now, I'm not going to go through a full-blown competitor set selection process here, but what I am going to do is just try and give you a bit of an insight. So I guess the first thing you need to be asking yourselves as hoteliers is, who's fighting for your customers? Who's fighting for our hotel customers? So again, to be able to understand that and answer that, you have to be able to establish the price, the value perception that the customer has of your property, and the alternative of options that are available at any particular time, but more importantly, through each channel. Now, again, a competitor set needs to be identified based on each segment of business that you've actually got in. So, creating a general set and then making sure that it's elaborated through a particular segment is definitely a winning strategy. So again, I don't need to really go over this, but a competitor set is simply a defined group of hotels where the property can compete itself against. Before you start to have a look at your strategic planning, it's really important to understand within the market which competitors you are actually competing against. So it's a critical step. It's a first step. And the first step that we need to really understand, as part of the first step that we really need to understand, is who are my true hotel competitors. So some different factors that you need to have a look at when you are establishing and designing who your competitors your competitor sets are, is what is your strengths, what is your weaknesses in comparison to your competitors. So competitive set selection is critical to ensuring that the data provided within your benchmarking reports is accurate. Some pitfalls that generally happen when hotels tend to select is they ignore kind of like these points here. So ignoring the demand base, choosing a known outlier, overestimating or underestimating on value, and only benchmarking one set. So these are some factors that get ignored when you are identifying a competitor set. So the step one is identifying a SWOT analysis. So having a look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and really evaluating them before you go ahead and select your competitor set. So once you've done that, then you will take a look at, okay, what do I need to actually have a look to identify my competitor set? So this isn't a full list that you can see here, but it gives you a good indicator of some factors that you need to take into consideration when you are determining the competitor set. So again, location, quality of service. I've mentioned quality of service numerous times before. Food and beverage, the quality of the hotel, the offering of breakfast, the internet, facilities, transient rates, room types. You can see there's a big list here: age and design of the hotel, loyalty, brand awareness, complementary services, cleanliness, reviews, ranking on review sites, and average ranking on OTA sites. These are just some factors that you need to have a look at, but they're very good factors in allowing you to establish the correct competitor set for your particular hotel. Now, once you've done that, you get a simple Excel. It's not really rocket science. And then you start to plot your price versus your quality in a simple Excel in something that looks like this that you can see on the screen right now. So as you can see here, I've got star rating, location, quality of service, restaurant quality, etc., etc. And then I've got price, my hotel, and my hotel price positioning. You go ahead then and you enter this information. Now, when you do this, obviously it's always best to try and get somebody who's independent of the property to do it so that they're not biased to one property rather than you doing it yourself. But if you do it yourself, you have to be really honest and truth to yourself and say, okay, where do I really see us sitting within the competitive set that I'm looking at the moment? And then you simply go ahead and grade yourself. It starts from -5 through to +5, 0 being you because you are 0, and then +5 is better, -5 is worse in terms of where the competitors are. And then by the time you've completed this, you get something that looks kind of like this. So upon the completion of the Excel tool, the hotel can have a clear view of where you stand within your marketplace and with regards to price and quality within every market segment in which you compete. So then you can start to see, in the bottom section, who are my direct competitors, who are my direct threats. In the top section, who are my less threats. And then you see the two blue lines it's the funnel, and any hotel that basically falls within the funnel is your true direct competitor. And they are the ones that you should really be focusing on rather than focusing on everybody else who's in your marketplace. And again, complete this by segmentation, which then gives you a better indication of what your competitors are based on each particular segment. So to assess your competition analysis, so once you've done all that, you start asking yourself questions, right? So you ask yourself the question, how does my occupancy rate compare to my competition? How does my average rate compare to my comp set? What is my weekend and weekday split? Are they yielding or are they not yielding? Are they using a platform? Are they using technology? What are going to be their predicted, what do you predict as their future moves? And opportunities for changes in the market. These are questions then you can start to answer once you've selected the competitor set as per the instructions that I just gave you shortly. And then we have some do's and don'ts when you are selecting competitor sets, because I know a lot of people, they really enjoy selecting competitor sets, but sometimes it's quite a challenge in establishing what to do and what not to do. So here we go. Do list all your hotels within a certain location to help you identify your true customers. Carry out the exercise as a team. Like I said, it's always best to get it done independently, and then 2-3 different people in a hotel can do it. It's always best to have that team effort. Consider hotels whose pricing actions would force you to make pricing changes to yourself. Complete this exercise at least once a year. When you do a budget each year, so therefore you should be having a look at this on a year-by-year basis. And don't list only the competitors you've always used in the past. Have a look at new opportunities. And lastly, more importantly, don't just use ego, right? A lot of hotels have an ego and they think, no, I'm definitely better than you. I'm 5-star, I'm a lot better than you. Sometimes it's not the case. So definitely don't use ego. And I guess that's me done. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Zach, for the insightful presentation. So here's a quick introduction about RepUp. We are a 360-degree customer experience management platform and have solutions around each phase of the guest lifecycle. If you see on the bottom right of the screen, these are the solutions that we offer: a reputation management tool, a marketing module, a guest communication module. Also, we are an authorized review collection partners of TripAdvisor and Holiday Check. So Zach covered a bit about how managing good reputation impacts your revenue. Continuing with this thought, let me start with the basics by answering this question first. What is online reputation? So online reputation of your business encompasses everything a customer can find about you on the internet, everything posted to social networks, booking partners, review websites, etc. So, why has it suddenly become so important? So, this should not be a surprising fact, considering internet is the first place we go to when we need information. So, if you see on the graph or over the screen, online reviews is the second most trusted source when it comes to booking a hotel. Also, in a recent Trip Barometer survey, 89% of respondents said reviews had the most influence on their bookings. What is more interesting to note here is that reviews not just influence travel decisions, but they impact the revenue as well. If you see, a 1 point increase in rating has a direct impact on bookings and on your average daily rate as well. Also, it increases your booking by 14.2%, which is a staggering figure to look at. Also, given equal prices, travelers are 4 times more likely to choose a property with a higher review score. In order to simplify this, a better reputation on a travel website equals to more bookings. Good reviews equals to guests willing to spend more, and bad reviews discourage bookings even if the price is discounted. This all means that hospitality businesses have all the more reasons to manage their reputation than ever before. Potential customers are being swayed away by third party information that a business has no direct control over. But there's a difference between not having direct control and not having influence. That is where online reputation management comes into play. So you need to actively manage your online reputation, which will help you to shift your customer perception of your business, influence their booking decisions in your favor, and ultimately put more money in your pocket. In fact, let's look at it this way: with proper online reputation management, you can turn each traveler review, post, and photo into a free advertisement to your target customers. So before you start with managing online reputation, please ensure that there's a strategy guiding your efforts. A strategy will help you make the most use of your time and determine where to focus. I'd like to highlight a few essentials that you must have in order to ace your online reputation. So, firstly, listen to your guests and respond. Customers are talking about you, whether you're listening or not. Commit to listening to what they have to say, even though you may not always like it. Build list of the most popular websites where people post comments about you and get into the habit of checking them regularly. Respond to all of these guest reviews, be it a positive or a negative. And it is most important here to look at your responses should be personal and sincere. Please avoid copying pasting the same response. In case you get a negative review, please apologize, address the specific issue raised, reassure your potential guests, and invite the guest back. So that was about listening to your guest. Now when you are listening and analyzing this review, try to identify trends in your review. So for example, just like you, your potential customers do not have the time to read everything about your property. Instead, they look for patterns. One bad comment or image won't necessarily have them moving on to a competitor. However, several bad reviews in a row could convince them to look elsewhere. You should approach online reputation in the same way. Try to spot patterns early and focus your resources on those issues. Ideally, you should analyze this and ask yourself questions like: are my revenue earners, for example, your spa or restaurant, getting the highest ratings? Which areas require more staff training? Am I short or overstaffed in any of these areas? Did the upgrade I recently did at my property positively affected my guest experience? Do my guests receive value for money? The answers of all of these above questions you would find by analyzing these guest reviews. Once you have identified the trend and patterns, Now it's the time to act on these reviews. So reviews are essentially free evaluations of your business. If there's a negative feedback, do not worry. People do not expect you to be perfect all the time, but when something goes wrong, they do expect you to be accountable and fix it. Use negative feedback to make your business stronger, and be sure to tell customers what you've done so they know you're always listening and improving. Also, with Zach also highlighted, you need to track your competitor performance. It is crucial to know how you're performing versus your competitors. In case, for example, you're performing the best among your competitors, you can try increasing your price and see the impact. Also, you can track if what is your competitors major concern areas, the one it is getting maximum complaints for, so that you can plan or modify your strategies around service improvements. And lastly, do not fear the feedback. Asking people what they think about your business is the best way to understand what's working and what is not. Be sure to get your reviews or opinions from all of your customers. Trying to avoid negative reviews hurts you in the end. If you do not know what's going wrong, you cannot fix it. I highlighted on the feedback collection and why is it important. Let me introduce you to a RepUp's feedback solution, which is partnered with TripAdvisor. This module helps you to improve the volume of reviews on TripAdvisor, which would in turn improve the rank. So the process is divided into the following step. The first one is we create a survey form for your property, which is linked to the TripAdvisor survey form. This would be a web-based URL which can be run on any mobile device, be it a tablet, desktop, or phone. On the first step, the user details are filled in. If you see on the screen, the second step, guest initiates the review and submits it. Within 24 hours of the guest submitting this review, the guest would receive an automated email which will already have the details which were entered in the property. Now the guest just needs to answer two fields, which is a review title and a review description. When the guest clicks on submit, an automated login gets created. That is, no sign up is required and the survey can be completed without a TripAdvisor mobile app. A sign up and a mobile app is usually required if you choose to review a hotel in the usual way, that is, by going to the hotel TripAdvisor page directly. Once the user submits this review, it will get posted on TripAdvisor. Now, why you should collect in-house feedback versus email. So the first is it gives you an opportunity to collect feedbacks from all of your guests rather than waiting for them to give you feedback via email. Second, you can collect more email IDs via your feedback form. Third, the click rate is better since you'll be directly interacting with the guest and asking them to complete the survey sent via email. And last, if you see, the conversion rate of review getting posted on TripAdvisor is also high compared to emails. It is close to 7 to 9%. I'd also like to share a case study of a client who's been using this module for the past 1 year. The property name is Shapura House, which is one of the top heritage hotels in Jaipur, which started using our TripAdvisor feedback collection from April 2017. And as you can see, the results have been staggering. The property's rank improved by 13 places from 33 to 20 in just 9 months. Review volume increased from 33 reviews a month to 55 on an average. And more than 95% of these reviews were collected through this joint partnership. Also, as per our study, most of the reviews collected through this joint partnerships fall either under 4 or 5 star. So better the quality of reviews, higher are your chances to have a better rank. In the end, I'd like to emphasize on the key actions that every hotel must take. The first one being create a plan for your online reputation and assign responsibility to each staff member, and please ensure that each of them is trained on it. Second, collect feedback from each guest and encourage them to share their experience online. Third, use a reputation management tool. It will save you a lot of time. Fourth, respond to all of your reviews, especially the negative ones. Um, Fifth, monitor and identify areas of improvement and actually have a plan for the improvement in these service areas. The fifth one is the most important one. Please avoid trying to oversell yourself online. Everything customer read online shape their expectations of your business. Properties usually get bad reviews and comments when customer experiences do not meet their expectations. Your website, photos, your marketing communication should actually complement user submitted reviews and photos on review sites like TripAdvisor. Your contact details, hours of operation, and address should be correct anywhere travelers find them. For example, if your pool is closed or there's a construction happening outside your front door, you should contact visitors and let them know in advance. And do not stop there. It is important to update the resources travelers use when researching. For example, if there are photos of your pool, temporarily update the captions with the date of the reopening. And lastly, create an online reputation management culture. Managing your reputation can't be in one person's hand. Each team member needs to know how they impact your customers' experience. Prioritize training employees on your reputation goals and encourage them to take proactive actions to prevent any bad experience. So all of you can get your free online assessment report from RepUp. This is a limited offer. We'll be offering this only to the first 20 people who will send us this request. So that is all from my side. I'll hand it over to Kritika for question and answers now.
Thank you, Ravish and Zach. It was a very insightful session, and I'm sure that everybody will agree that we gathered a lot of information which will be beneficial for you all. Now let's take over to the question and answer round. So the first question is for Zach, and the question is, how can we maximize the revenue by OTA and direct business? Zach, over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So you can maximize revenue with OTA and direct, right? That's the question.
Right.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. So really, it's two separate entities there. You can't really put them both in one plate. OTA business is the online transient business, which has a different customer behavior, and your direct is obviously somebody who's a little bit more loyal to you, and they really want to be at your property because they choose to come there, right? So if we have a look at it from an OTA point of view, first of all, really the goal is, use the OTA platforms to market your property. That's what they're there for. That's what the OTA partners are really good at doing, getting that reach that you can't basically get. But once a customer is coming to your own hotel, then the customer should not come back to your hotel on a second visit via the OTA. Once you do that, then that means that you as a hotel have failed the customer in the sense of allowing them to book directly. So use the platforms to maximize your marketing, maximize your brand awareness, really get the message out there via the OTA platform, but then use your own direct booking engine, direct booking process, whatever it is that you do in your hotel, to really give more value. So for example, if I just give you an example of a hotel that I used to manage where this happened, we changed the process in the sense that when customers booked directly with us, we allowed them to get a little bit more value. So, they had, for example, the higher speed internet connection. They had a 10% reduction on restaurant meals. They had a welcome drink. So there was more value in them booking directly. And therefore, that word got out there. And then people started booking directly over and beyond, for example, one of the OTA providers. So use the OTAs for marketing, use your own websites, your own platforms for giving more value, and that's really how you can maximize.
Thanks, Zach. The next question will be, what is the average spend time on brand website?
what is the average spend time on brand website? It really varies. It's really, I can't give you one on how good or bad your own website is. So if you remember back to my presentation, I mentioned about the booking process, right? One of the reasons why booking.com, for example, is so popular is because it's so easy to make a reservation on their platform. Now, if you want to get down that route and you want customers to spend a longer period of time on your own website, then have a look at how your website is behaving. What's the flow through? What's the process? And on average, if a customer is generally spending 2 to 3 minutes on a brand's website, which is generally the case, how are you going to get them to spend a little bit more time? Go ahead and complete that booking, so make them from lookers to bookers, and really offer them more value through other ancillary revenue spends that are available in the hotel, which obviously OTAs can't do.
Thanks, Zach. The last question will be, what is the ideal number of competition a hotel should track?
Okay, so yeah, I've been asked this question many times. So according, obviously the standard guidelines from an industry point of view is followed with the guidelines of STR. STR, is, for those who don't know, is the global benchmarking solution provider. And within the CompuSet guidelines, it is clear that the set must include a total of 4 properties, including yourself. So maximum properties should be, on a benchmarking report, should be 5. I obviously have a look at different markets many times, and it really depends on the hotel that is within that market, and it really depends on what competition there is within that market also. So there's no harm in a property having up to 6 properties, which, I know many properties who have up to 6 properties, because if a hotel has, say, for example, less inventory in their competitors, then there might not be a direct threat for one particular type of business, but there might be a threat for a different type of business. So it really varies, but I would say a maximum of 6, no more than 6.
Thanks, Zach. We have one more question. So the question is, what is the best benchmarking tool we can adopt?
Best benchmarking tool. So if we're talking, it depends, because if we're talking about benchmarking from, say, an understanding of KPIs, then obviously STR is a great solution for that. But STR can only operate within your market if they have a certain amount of hotels operating on that platform. So if we're talking about benchmarking from, say, for example, for a pricing or a value point of view, then, they can reach out to the Access Rooms team, and the Access Rooms team will be able to show the price shopper, which is great from a benchmarking point of view. It allows you to understand your positioning from a pricing point of view, allows you to understand your positioning from a room type point of view, and a little bit more. So it really depends on what type of benchmarking hotels are looking for. But if obviously the primary benchmarking is having a look to see how you're positioning, then definitely they can reach out.
Okay, great. I think that's all for today. Thank you, Zach, for the insightful information you shared, and also Ravisha, thanks a lot. I think it was a great session, and I hope that it was meaningful to all of you. Thanks for attending the webinar. Have a nice day.
Thank you.